And we are back. I am so happy to be here, still recording and haven't been kicked off the air by censors or whoever. But joining me today, he had to come back to the studio because he wasn't done talking about how beautiful our location is.
Oh, it's
Sam,
fantastic.
Sam, thank you for joining me today, and thank you for joining me on last minute.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to be here.
No, man, I'm excited for you to be on today because there is lots of craziness going on in the NBA. Jason Kidd is getting fired. Players are getting into weird fights. I didn't even talk about the whole Clippers
Through,
Rockets.
through the secret passage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a whole discussion on its own. That's hilarious to me. Um, Chris Paul made a decoy. It's amazing. But anyway,
It was Cliff Paul.
Cliff Paul. Right, right. Oh, I love it. So, Sam, the main reason I wanted to bring you on is we're going to get to it in a minute. Is you wrote a freaking fantastic 3 thumbs up, 6-star, not 5, but 6-star article, in my opinion, of trade possibilities with Atlanta. And you gave like how many examples did you give? 20?
Yeah, 20. It was about a 3-week put together process, but it
I
was a
love
lot
it.
of fun.
I freaking love that. Like that is amazing because some people will lazy out. I'll do this, put like maybe 5 together, but 20 is I like applauded when I read that. And I was like, this is beautiful. I love it. But for listeners out there, we are going to get to that. But real quick, let's start off All-Star. What do you want to talk about first? The Hawks randomly winning games recently. Actually, you know what? We'll lead into that because I have a thought about that. But the All-Star lineups were announced. We knew the starters already, but recently we've had the backups. Are you shocked to see that no Hawks were on there, given the record?
Not really. I mean,
Yeah.
if any of them had a chance, it was Dennis Schroeder, and he wasn't getting in because of the defense. So, not surprised at all.
Well, I'm looking at the list right now for those in the East on the reserves. Victor Oladipo is the first name that I see, and wow,
I love it.
love it.
Love it. I love Victor Oladipo. His game is so much fun to watch, and
Yeah,
every time I watch him play for Indiana, I keep thinking in the back of my mind, they really got the better end of the PG-13 trade, in my opinion, because they got a younger asset who is averaging the same amount of points and is doing everything that Paul George did for Indiana
right,
flawlessly.
right. And he's not complaining right now to be traded
Right.
to another team. So next, I'm just going to go down the list real quick. Kristaps Porzingis. This is his first year. The guy is, yeah,
Massive. Yeah.
massive, like massively tall. Kevin Love, Al Horford, love it or hate it, everybody, but God,
He's a
he's so
five-time
good. He's
five-time
so good.
All-Star now.
He's so good, and we're not going to go down that path of depression.
Miss you, Al.
We miss you, Al. I miss you so much.
Come back.
Come back to us. Question: do you think Horford gets his jersey retired in Atlanta?
Well, I mean, if we retire a mayor's jersey, I mean, I don't see why not.
So, all
Sorry if
right.
that's a touchy subject for anybody, but
Oh man,
I just think that's a tad ridiculous. But it's here or there.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into that, but that
All
is.
right.
I mean, in that sense, one could argue for Jeff Teague and
Right. Yeah. Paul Millsap.
Paul Millsap, my favorite player or not. Well, Jeff and Millsap have been my favorite player. Well, Joe too, and Horford.
Yeah, Joe Jesus.
Yeah. God, I miss them so much. Okay. Okay.
You gotta hold it together, Josh.
I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm not even done with the East list yet. All right. So John Wall and Kyle Lowry, wrapping things
Yeah,
up in that list.
Kyle Lowry is a good choice. John Wall averaging somewhere I think 9 assists this season is really really good, but with the whole Wizards thing, I
Yeah.
mean I don't know. I'm okay with it.
Eh. Bradley Beal. Um,
the 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 Wizards are a strange case. They literally depend on 3 or 4 guys for all of their scoring. Their bench is horrendous, but we won't get into that. But
yeah. So West Reserves, Draymond Green, Russell Westbrook, Klay Thompson, Karl Anthony Towns,
that's
Jimmy
what I'm talking
Butler,
about.
LaMarcus Aldridge, and Dame
Eh,
Lillard.
It's
Damian,
about time.
yeah, I know. Now, do you have any, like, off the top of your head, possible snubs?
Um, Not that I can come up with just right away, but um, I really like CJ McCollum, the other half of that Portland backcourt,
Yeah.
and I think he'll be a all-star in the very near future.
Now, obviously, Dame Lillard got on there, deservedly so. But what would you say about Chris Paul not making it? Like, I
Eh,
I know I'm just like bringing this question on you for the first time, but it's tough. Now, granted,
He
I
did
think
miss a lot of time,
yeah, I did
and I
read
think
he only played
go ahead.
28 games. So sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
But it's just I don't think you can give a place on the All-Star team to a guy like Chris Paul who has only played a limited amount of games over
Right.
somebody like Damian Lillard who's keeping his team afloat single-handedly. And I don't know, it's interesting, but I think it's completely okay.
Paul George didn't make the All-Star team. That is interesting. Now, one person who I kind of like not wonder, but I think should get nominated, not nominated, but just kind of like, you know how they in the Oscars, which recently just came out, Oscar nominations, how they have, yes, the nominations. One guy who to me who's just been kind of like, you look at his numbers, it's like wow, and plus how much he's improved, Andre Drummond.
Yeah, I mean, and I saw on Twitter tonight where he was pretty upset that he didn't make it this year. And
Didn't he? Now, what is his free throw percentage this year? Um,
I'd
I'm,
be surprised if it's anywhere over 55%.
because I thought he was doing, you know what? I thought he was doing good, but let me look it up real quick. Andre Drummond. But you said he was on on Twitter. He was pretty upset.
Right. I mean, he was uh, very emotional about not making the team, and teammate Reggie Jackson had his own tweet I'm looking at right now. It says, "Wow, Andre Drummond is not an all-star popularity contest." So,
You know what? You know what? You know what he's shooting free throws this year? You
what's
remember
that?
how bad he was in the past?
Right.
You know he was best. He's shooting 63% this year from the line.
Wow. That is surprising.
Yeah.
I mean it's still terrible, but I mean
Improvement.
it's better than what 35% that he shot 2 years ago, something like
Oh
that.
yeah,
It's
35.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, I just came up with another snub for the West, by the way. I think Lou Williams was deserving of a reserve spot. And I
Okay.
know that
Okay.
might be a little bit controversial, but the guy is amazing, especially against the Hawks.
He is single-handedly keeping that Clippers team alive. But let me ask you, I haven't watched much Lou Williams this year, so everyone on everyone listening, or and even you can completely berate me for this. How's his defense been this year? Is it
Non-existent.
so? Is that would that be a reason to keep him off?
Yeah, I
Um,
think so. I mean, you look at a guy like him who's you like you said keeping the Clippers alive alongside Blake Griffin, but somebody comparable like Dennis. I mean, Dennis does most of the scoring and facilitating for the Hawks, but because the defense isn't there, he's not an all-star caliber player. I mean, he's putting up 20 points a game, and I mean, he's doing a great job getting the ball around. But when the defense isn't there, you just can't give those guys spots on an all-star team, even though they play no defense in an all-star game.
Yeah. Yeah, who are you telling? And the absurd thing is, the funny thing is, just thinking about just yeah, you're right. Lack of defense. Dunk contest. So if you're LeBron, who's your first pick? Because well, hold on. For everybody who
Now,
doesn't know,
now yeah,
they're
I think I need to
picking.
be caught up on this as well.
Okay, so for everyone who doesn't know, it is to my understanding, and you know what? I'm always, every time I'm confident in something, I'm always completely wrong. But I believe how it is this is kind of like going back to the playground and you're picking one by one who's on your team.
Regardless of conference.
Yes, regardless of conference. I believe
Interesting.
that. So I see this everywhere. Like I've seen this a bunch of different places. But who do you think would you be your first pick if you're LeBron?
James Harden. And
Really?
that's easy for me to say. I think James Harden is the best player in basketball right now.
James Harden is so freaking good.
He's
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 sing-
insane.
he's single-handedly keeping my fantasy basketball team from not being in dead last, but second to last. Shout out to the fantasy gods for breaking my number 2 picks foot on the first night of basketball.
Yeah, do we want to go down that rabbit hole with him?
No, no,
Oh
no.
God.
Oh boy.
But
But
yeah, I'd have to say Harden, and then for Curry, his first pick, I think it'll be his teammate Kevin Durant.
now
So
for the sake of entertainment, for the sake of just pure entertainment, I think LeBron should choose Durant first, just because you never see them play together.
that would be insane to think about. And also, if we could somehow make Russell Westbrook and KD have a one-on-one sometime in the middle of the game, that would make me very happy.
So here's how I played it out in my mind. Now let me know what you think. Um, LeBron picks Durant first. It means Steph gets the second pick. Now, if you choose Durant, if you're Steph, would you pick James Harden second, or would you?
Definitely.
Definitely. Okay. So
I mean, it's a scoring contest. First to 200 wins, and James Harden might be able to put up 100 points by himself. So
okay. So with my third pick, if I was LeBron, and again, this is if I was LeBron. Okay. Okay.
right,
And all my listeners know, Sam, I love chaos.
you do. It's
Okay.
very it's very
Okay.
scary sometimes.
Okay. Giannis Antetokounmpo.
As who's pick? LeBron's?
Oh, as LeBron's, so you could team him with Durant and LeBron,
Oh
because
my God.
I feel he is. So I watched the All Star game last year from beginning to end. Don't ask me why I torture myself with this. But the Greek Freak was the only person who bothered to actually play seriously. So I feel if you get him on the All Star team, he's actually going to play defense.
Maybe so, but I think that would be an insane starting lineup. Could you imagine the size of the starting lineup?
That'd be crazy.
Like running into a brick wall.
Yeah, yeah. Length everywhere. Just
Yeah,
just those three standing together could have like arm length to cover the entire like 3-point line.
definitely.
But okay. But I I don't know. I think I don't know. That was just my thought of what would be purely entertaining and what I would want to see.
That
But
would be pretty fun.
so who do you think is going to be the last pick?
Marcus Aldridge. And
Yep.
that's nothing against him, but I I can't see either team wanting a big man in this year's game. And
Okay,
I think most of the traditional big men are going to go towards the end of I guess you call it a draft. But
you don't think they're going to pick Embiid last just for pettiness?
that would be the greatest Twitter fight ever started.
No, but okay, but seriously, Aldridge is a great choice as the last pick. How about Kevin Love?
Mm. I don't know. I actually like Kevin Love. I think he's still got a lot left in the tank, but I mean, where he's at in Cleveland,
Yeah, I don't know. Like LeBron will
he
be
gets a bad
super.
rap.
Do you think LeBron will be super passive aggressive and just not choose Kevin Love to be on his team?
I'm sure he will, and then we'll get 50 million stories from Woj about how the Cleveland Cavaliers are in disarray and LeBron said something about Kevin Love's mom and this and that.
Yeah, and Kevin Love. Didn't wasn't it like last week they had a spat like something like they were pointing fingers at who can't play defense or I.
Yeah, they had a special team meeting and
Jeez.
they didn't let anybody know, and especially not Kevin Love, because the meeting was centered around him and how he wasn't doing good enough. And it
I
was basically like a
mm,
let's lash Kevin Love in this meeting kind of thing.
mm. You know, and Kevin Love has never really like not once have I've seen him complain, but
No,
I'll leave it alone. I'll leave it alone, especially when you have your 5'9" point guard that everyone literally shoots over. But
right.
okay,
He's a traffic cone.
okay, okay. So let's get to the main event. So the Hawks have recently been winning basketball games. Like I don't know if people are aware of this, but the Hawks have legit been winning basketball games. They've won 3 of the last 4, 4 out of the last 6, and if you are at the stock market right now, this is where you sell, sell, sell. So it is fantastic timing that Sam, you came out with this article with all of your trade scenarios. So we're going to talk about some of the stuff on there. I sent you some questions yesterday. You came back with some answers. So let's get this going. So my first question is to name we're going to go through 3 of your favorite trades from your article. So give me your first trade that's your favorite from there.
All right. Well, and this one is packed by a lot of people who gave me big props for this trade. That they all Hawks fans seem to love it. It's
Oh boy.
Dwayne Dedman, Marco Bellinelli, and Atlanta's 2018 first round pick, the Houston pick, to Milwaukee for Jabari Parker, Thon Maker, and Jason Terry. So that brings the Jet back home, but like to be released because obviously he doesn't want to play for the Hawks. But the Hawks, they get Jabari Parker, who is injury prone but still has a lot of promise, and they get out from underneath the Dwayne Dedman and Marco Pellinelli contracts.
And Jabari Parker, easily the second best player on that team. It's not even close when healthy.
I don't know. I mean,
Oh, really?
yeah, when healthy, but I think that's the biggest problem is that he's never healthy. He's
Yeah.
missed 2 complete seasons now in his short career. I'd actually put Giannis obviously as the best player on that team, but I don't know. Maybe it's Eric Bledsoe as like second best.
Now, hmm. But that said, we would get Thon Maker. Uh,
Right. The alleged 20-year-old who nobody really knows how old he is, but he's
pretty big.
not shooting that great from three,
Uh,
but he is ridiculously long, and I'd guess you classify him as a center.
well,
Maybe
he's a 20-year-old shooting threes. That's a suit. I mean, the 33%. I believe that's what you wrote.
right,
Looking back at
33%.
it now. Right, yeah. Okay, okay. That's only hmm.
To make the financials work, you have to take on the Jason Terry contract, but
No. Okay, so my question for this one is real quick. How many first round picks do the Hawks have next year? And if they have more than one, well, do they have more than one? And which pick? Because I believe they have multiple next
they
season.
have their own pick, which is likely to be top 15. I mean, I don't see the Hawks making the playoffs this season. I'm sorry to break it to you guys.
What? Oh,
I'm sorry to break your hearts. But, anyways, they also have the opportunity to have Minnesota's first round pick should they make the playoffs.
I
And yeah,
yeah,
I'd be
that's happening.
surprised if they didn't.
Yeah.
And then Houston's, which obviously that's happening as well. So you're looking at three first round picks, but the Hawks pick is the most valuable by far because it's going to be a lottery pick. And Minnesota and Houston, you're looking at Minnesota in the early 20s and Houston in the late 20s. So
So it would probably be Milwaukee would probably want Houston's pick if I had to take a wild guess.
right,
And because Atlanta's pick is just untouchable, unless if they
yeah,
were sending us uh Giannis. I
Giannis,
Giannis. Is that how you say his name? Giannis.
yeah,
Okay. I hear it like a million times and I still get it wrong. Unless if they're
yeah.
sending
I'd say the Hawks own pick that's untouchable for anybody because I mean it could be number one overall if they go back to their losing ways.
I'm just it would be so Hawksy for us to fall to like number 8 in the draft, but okay.
All right, moving on to my
Moving
second favorite trade.
your number 2.
All
What you
right,
got?
this one is kind of bittersweet, but I think the benefits outweigh the liabilities in this one. Dwayne Dedman, Marco Bellinelli, and the Hawks' 2018 first round pick from Houston to Cleveland to take on Tristan Thompson and be compensated with the Cavs' 2018 first round pick via Boston from Brooklyn. So that's the Brooklyn pick.
Ooh.
That's likely to be top 10.
Okay. Now, why would they give Tristan Thompson back to would that be like a salary match or
No, actually, I mean, me and Jeff Siegel talked about this the other day in our Slack account that Tristan Thompson is actually a liability at this point. He still has, including this year, 3 years, and he's making about $17 million a year.
ooh, good God. Wow. Okay. Say
Right.
no more, but for the listeners, go ahead and continue to explain, but I got you.
So in this trade, the Cavs get an immediate upgrade at the center position, and they can slot Kevin Love back into the power forward position. Maybe quell some arguments there because Dwayne Dedman can actually move his feet and defend, and apparently he's the best 3-point shooter the Hawks have now. And they get Marco Bellinelli off the bench, kind of a Kyle Korver kind of guy, come in instant offense. And they do get the first round pick from Houston because that Brooklyn pick is so valuable. They're going to have something big back in return. And taking on Tristan Thompson is pretty big in and of itself.
All right. Okay. I like that one. That is pretty good. That hmm. I kind of like that one. But you know what?
I think
That's
the only thing about it is that Cleveland would be insane to trade that Brooklyn pick because this is just my opinion, guys, but I think LeBron is out of here after this season.
okay. So we have inside sources here on my very own podcast.
Inside sauces.
Sauces. Multiple sources here on CawCast telling us LeBron might be gone. Now, I mean, just because it doesn't look like he's getting along with anyone in Cleveland and it's starting to look like a dumpster fire and they're starting to lose all their assets, possibly means he's leaving.
Just maybe.
Possibly, just maybe.
And maybe the fact that he's going into his 16th season running out of time to get a ring.
Yeah, and geez, the Cavs are just so. You talk about like one of the luckiest franchises ever in history, the Cavs, just
Right.
because they're so incredibly incompetently and so incredibly stupid with running their stuff that, yeah,
They blew a once in a million opportunity. I mean, you get a guy like LeBron James and you win one championship.
been to the finals multiple times.
Yeah.
Though I will say his one championship, if you were to say that your one championship is beating the 70 win team, that's like everyone
After they
knows
went up
is
three to
amazing.
one
Yeah,
in the finals, after they went up 3-1. So that's even
that's
bigger.
that's kind of a cool thing to write. But yeah, I totally see it. I don't know, man. LeBron's just one day LeBron will start to slow down. I don't know when that will happen. It's almost kind of funny talking just real quick, just talking about the All-Star. It's funny to see the guys in his class of All-Star games are no longer, getting voted in, and he's the last one
In
left.
All-Star games.
Yeah.
And he was the number one
Yeah.
person voted. So, I mean, LeBron is doing something unprecedented. He just went over 30,000 points today,
He's
and
like,
he's the youngest player to do that, and he's going to go down most likely as the greatest ever.
yeah. And I know some that will argue that. I
Of course.
we already hear the arguments of top three. LeBron is the greatest player I have ever seen. Now, keep in mind, I have not seen uh much of the Jordan era, obviously, because it's early 90s and I wasn't looking at it with a critical eye. But yeah.
See, I wasn't even born until his Wizard days.
Oh, really? Oh. Oh, we got a young guy here. Let's see. I was born halfway through his career, but his Bulls career. But
All right,
anyway,
do you want to move on to the third favorite trade?
yeah, let's move on. I'm getting sidetracked talking about basketball. Okay.
All right, this is a really big one to unpack, so bear with me here.
All right. So,
Dwayne Dedman, Malcolm Delaney, and Terrence Ross to Washington. And I know the Hawks don't have Terrence Ross, so hold on. Marcin Gortat, Chris McCullough to Orlando, all in exchange for Mario Hezonja, Tim Frazier, Kim Birch, and the Wizards' 2018 first-round pick.
okay, so let's start with the flow chart. Let's start this. How do the Hawks get Terrence Ross?
Okay, the Hawks don't actually ever touch Terrence Ross. This is a three-team deal with Orlando, the Wizards, and the Hawks. The Wizards being in big need of bench upgrades. And I say big need, I mean like their whole rest of their season depends on what moves they make at the deadline. They get Dwayne Dedman, Malcolm Delaney, who is a Baltimore native, takes him closer to home, and Terrence Ross, the former Sixth Man of the Year, instantly bolsters their bench big time, sets them up to be able to make a playoff push, and that helps the Wizards. Then on Orlando's side, Marcin Gortat made it known last week that he'd like to play next season in Orlando and finish his career there. And
Really?
he's no slouch.
Nope.
At his age, he's still putting up good numbers in the center position. He does a lot of intangible things, and I don't think Orlando's that far off from having a good team. He added Gortat in there over somebody like Biombo, and who knows what happens. And then they get Chris McCullough, who in his own right is a young budding star out of Washington. Um, really promising kid, power forward who can shoot. And then for all of that trouble, the Hawks will get back Mario Hezonja, who I am very high on. I believe in Mario Hezonja, and I hate the way Orlando has handled him since he's been drafted. Just I think they've been going about it completely wrong. And they get back Tim Frazier, who's kind of just salary filler, and Kem Birch, the young center who's in his rookie season at 25, which doesn't sound that great, but he's having a pretty good season. And then, of course, the Wizards' 2018 first round pick comes back to the Hawks.
Huh. You say Kaheem, what's his name? Birch? What's Kaheem Birch?
Kem Birch.
Keem Birch, 25-year-old center. Just so everyone knows, we've had older rookies on the team, so I don't know what it matters. Okay. Huh. Okay, so you're okay, so explain to me again and to the audience why Orlando would be cool with parting ways with Hazonia and picking up Gortat. Now you say Gortat could help the team, especially since they do have a couple of young big men on there. And obviously, Washington's just, I think for the last like 4 years, they've been in desperate need of bench help. And it seems to be another common theme going on this year. But explain this from the Orlando standpoint.
Okay, from Orlando's standpoint, you're offloading Terrence Ross and his $10.5 million contract for next season. So
Okay.
that helps you go out and sign a good player, say you want to. Taking back Marcin Gortat doesn't hurt them as much in the salary department, but at the same time gives them a guy who has experience with top NBA guards, John Wall and Bradley Beal, and that
Right.
seems to be what Orlando's trying to build around is, a young front court who Gortat can mentor, and then the young guards who, run the offense for. And as far as Hazonia, I don't think they want him back after this season. So it just the Hawks get a chance to help redevelop his career in the Coach Bud system, which, if you guys don't know, I am really high on Coach Bud's development system. He does an insane job with young guys.
Yeah, he's gotten made a couple of guy wing players, especially who have been unknown known, and Mario Hazonia could be the next one.
Right.
Okay, so guys, we're going to take a quick break, but when we return, we're going to go over the craziest, most outrageous trade that Sam thinks is on his list, and also possibly the most likely that's going to happen.
All right.
And we are back. Oh man, I missed being away. Sam, did you miss being away?
I did. It felt like years.
Great. Okay, so as promised, we went through the top three favorite trades of yours. So let's go ahead, get this out of the way. What is like the most craziest, outlandish trade that you have on here that you're just kind of like, oh my goodness, I can't even touch this because this is just fire. What you got for me?
During our break just then, I was thinking about what the craziest trade on this list is, and there's two of them on here that
Okay.
I can't decide between. So we'll go through the more tame one first.
Okay. All right. So, guys, we're not going to have one craziest trade. We're going to have two because we are that awesome. Well, Sam is that awesome. I'm just here to navigate us through these waters.
You two
Sam,
can.
what's your first, what's the first one you got for me?
All right. Miles Plumlee and the
I
Hawks'
like it.
2018 first round pick via Minnesota to Dallas for Josh McRoberts.
Ooh.
Here's why this is crazy.
Okay.
Miles Plumlee is a detriment to the salary cap for the Hawks. He is drawing $12.5 million a year for the next 3 years. Josh McRoberts is on an expiring contract, but
Mm.
the Hawks would have to give up a pretty valuable first round pick to get rid of this contract. And the reason I say this one is crazy is because I don't think it happens personally. I wrote it up and yeah, it was my idea, but at the same time, it's just so far out there as for the Hawks to give up future assets like a first round pick for getting off of a contract of a guy like Miles Plumlee, who's a type of contract that the Hawks should be trying to look for, something attached with assets to it.
Right.
And so I don't know if that one actually happens, but that is pretty crazy. And here is the wild one.
All
Um,
right. Drum roll, sound effects. Too bad I don't have a soundboard right now, or I would play some crazy music. But go ahead, lay it on me. I'm ready.
all right, here we go. All right,
Holding on to
ready?
the table.
You
Let's do
sitting
this.
down? Yep. Hold on to
All right.
something. Kent Bazemore and Luke Babbitt to Sacramento for Vince Carter, Justin Jackson, and Georgios Papagiannis. And I wrote on the trade primer piece that this was an improbable trade, and it was the only one I wrote that for. And it just seems so crazy to think of Vince Carter being on the Hawks.
So how would he kill the Hawks if he's on the Hawks? I don't get it. How will that work?
Exactly. But, because he always kills the Hawks, that helps us in the tanking department if he can actually figure out a way to hurt us while on the team. But getting past that, this trade allows the Hawks to get off of Kent Bazemore's contract and pick up a young couple of assets from Sacramento, Justin Jackson and Georgios Papagiannis. Um,
Okay.
I love Kent. He's a he's an awesome guy, and he's been gracious to the Hawks for his entire time that he's been in Atlanta. But that contract is rough. And if the Hawks were able to get out from underneath it, maybe you go looking for a deal attached with assets like that Cleveland deal where, you take on somebody like Tristan Thompson, the Cavs get some room to make a deal, but they send you that Brooklyn pick, which could be top 10. It's just salary cap nowadays is so valuable because nobody has any.
Yep.
And what this does for Sacramento, as everybody knows, is infuriating on the defensive end of the floor.
Well,
Not,
they're infuriating, period.
yeah,
But yes,
but Kent offers some sense of stability on both ends of the floor. I'd say Kent's having a pretty good year shooting the threes, up to 38% this season. And he's not necessarily a lockdown defensive guy. He's not going to put LeBron in clamps, whatnot. But he can hold his own, and he knows how to talk with young guys. Had the experience with the Hawks on where to get in your defensive sets, how to handle certain guys. He's been in the league long enough, to show the young guys that Sacramento has something valuable in the defensive department, which is where they need to be focused.
now at the same time, I would be aren't you kind of worried because sending Kent Bazemore off to Sacramento, I would imagine players would see that as kind of like a death contract, like a death sentence. Like, how dare you? Why would you send me to Sacramento? No.
You know, and that's the one thing that I can't get is Kent goes to that team, and who knows how much they improve. You put Kent Bazemore beside De'Aaron Fox because I, I don't know why they do it, but I think Cleveland is going to go after George Hill, and then once he's gone, it's De'Aaron Fox's team. But
Sure.
you put a guy like Kent Bazemore beside a young guy like De'Aaron Fox, give them time to develop together, develop some chemistry, and that could be the same kind of role that Dennis and Kent had on the playoff teams in the past years. So
It-
Sacramento has a ton of young guys who are all lottery tickets, I'd say. But you hit on some, you miss on some. But I think Kent would improve that team tenfold.
Now you take Kent off of the Hawks. It'll be interesting to see. I don't think it has been very uh, hidden my thoughts on Kent Bazemore in the past. However, this year I've had no complaints from him. I thought I think he's having a good season, like you're saying, but I feel bad. Like I legitimately feel bad for sending him to Sacramento. Like
Well,
that's
I
a
mean,
hmm.
yeah, I could see why some guys wouldn't be so excited to play for a non-playoff team, but what is he doing in Atlanta?
Well, at least in Atlanta, it's Atlanta. He goes to Sacramento. Ugh. At least in Atlanta, there is stability. Whether it's the coaching, and you know something's happening. You go to Sacramento. Yeah, you get some new facilities, but everybody knows they have no idea what they're doing.
The Kangs. But going on in this contract, it's underrated, but the Sacramento Kings also pick up Luke Babbitt, who I can't understand why the Hawks don't use him. He's shooting 45% from three
Yeah,
this season.
he's. I
And
keep forgetting Luke Babbitt is even on the team at times, but I
and
remember because oh yeah, he can shoot. But go ahead.
yeah, I mean, they'll play Dennis Schroeder, and you can't tell me that Luke Babbitt's defense is the reason you're keeping him off the floor. I think there's more to it, like some kind of lingering injury that we're just not being told about, that's taking time, back spasms or something like that, but I won't get into that speculation kind of stuff. But if you're going to play somebody like Dennis Schroeder, who plays zero defense at all times on the court, you can't justify Luke Babbitt being off the court at all. I mean, you need his offense, and he's not a terrible defender either.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Well,
Sacramento picking him up and picking Ken up would be two more veteran guys on that very, very young team to kind of help lead and direct some of the young guys in their respective positions. Now, on the Hawks end of this, you get back Vince Carter, who I don't know, maybe would seek a buyout from the Hawks and try to go. He signed with Sacramento, so he obviously must have not been interested in making the playoffs this season. But I'm not sure if he would stay in Atlanta or not. If he did, that'd be great. He'd sell tickets, but I just don't see him staying around for too long if this trade were to happen by some impossible way. And then the Hawks get back Justin Jackson. He is a small forward out of North Carolina, won the national championship
yes.
with
Oh, I
North
remember
Carolina.
him. I remember Justin Jackson.
I like his game a lot. He's a legit 3-and-D guy who's long and athletic at his position. He's
Yep.
actually a pretty good playmaker from the time I've seen him with the Kings this year, and I think he could really really help the Hawks wings when they lose somebody like Kent Bazemore.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And the super underrated one to me is Papa John's.
Papa John's.
Papa John's, the guy on Giorgio's Papa Giannis. I don't know how you. I'm
Giorgio's Papagiannis, and yeah, he is actually pretty underrated in his second season out of Greece.
he
Um,
of what little I saw from him last season, he was actually pretty good.
the
Um,
crazy thing about him is he's only 20,
yeah,
so and as a big man, he can really pass the ball.
yeah. Okay, so all right, so I'm sitting down. I'm good for all the craziness. All right,
Okay, good.
so what do you think is actually going to happen? What's most likely that's actually going to happen?
All right, it took some time to think about this one, but
Okay,
because I thought they were all trades that could happen. I mean, none of them are like legit LeBron for Tyler Dorsey kind of trade or something like that. It's
right,
ridiculous.
right,
But my biggest one that I think would benefit the Hawks the most in an underrated way would be Ersan Ilyasova to Minnesota for Cole Aldridge and Minnesota's 2020 first round pick, unprotected.
ooh,
Here's the thing about this trade is not only does it give the Hawks Minnesota's 2020 first round pick, but Ersan Ilyasova helps that team this year when the Hawks are looking for a pick to convey already from Minnesota.
right.
So it's actually doing double the good for the Hawks over something like a Kent Bazemore trade or something like that. But the Hawks would have to take on Cole Aldridge's contract, which has got it's an expiring salary, so but it's an $8 million salary.
Also, you have to keep in mind how Memphis will be. When's 2020? 2 years from now?
Yeah,
Yeah, how Memphis will be 2 years from now.
Minnesota.
Oh, sorry, you said Minnesota. Why was I thinking Memphis? Okay. Oh, never mind then. Okay, that changes everything I thought about. However, no, that's still pretty good. That's still
Yeah, I think Minnesota will still be contending. They've got all of their young guys signed to deals. Wiggins is looking more and more like a legit superstar every day. He just
yeah.
dropped 40 points the other night in a crazy win. That was crazy. And I think Minnesota is a safe bet to pick up first round picks. I mean, you're probably not going to get in the teens with their picks, but hey, a first round pick is a first round pick, and the Hawks need all they can get.
And first round picks are assets. Um,
Right.
just in
Tradable
general.
assets.
2020. So you put it like that, the Hawks will have multiple first round picks for like the next few seasons. I believe when does the Corver one come into effect? Is that next season?
That's next season, and that one is scary because it is top 15 protected.
Ooh.
If LeBron leaves, they might be stuck with Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson, and who knows, maybe they hand the keys to Isaiah Thomas and say, hey, we need somebody to take this team. We're not ready to tank just yet. But at the same time, there's always the possibility that they sell, and then Cleveland's a lottery team. If the first round pick doesn't convey next season, it turns into 2 second round picks in 2020. So the Hawks still get assets, but they're missing out on that huge first round pick next season should Cleveland go in the tank.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Well, everybody, that is just a preview of some of Sam's craziest, fun, least fun, more fun. I don't know.
Everybody go check it out if you're ready to sit down and read for 2 hours.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Now, granted, I'm trying to look on here. Do you have a category for what will probably happen, which is like okay, what Josh thinks will happen is who on our team? I'm trying to think who's a bench player. Mike Muscala for like a second round pick.
Right.
Is that
I did write a couple more tame trades, about
uh,
5 tame trades. One of them is Mike Muscala to Memphis for JaMychal Green. It's kind of a similar player for similar player trade. What it does for Memphis is they're going downhill quickly,
yeah.
and if they wanted to get off some of that cap room, they could get off JaMychal Green and pick up a guy like Mike Muscala. So,
Oh, great. Well,
but there are plenty of trades on there, so everybody just take a chance to go over to Peachtree Hoops and check them out.
now the trade deadline is on the 8th, February 8th. So I'm anticipating some action happening because to me, with how well certain players have played, I don't know why you wouldn't trade them, sell high. Now, there's no chance that the Hawks trade for Kemba Walker, is there? Since he's out on the
No, no,
trade
I don't
market.
think the Hawks go looking for anybody to pick up that's going to be, like win now kind of move. And I would be very, very surprised if the Hawks, after the deadline, had Bellinelli, Dedman, Ilyasova, Babbitt, any of
Yeah,
these
but yeah.
veteran guys on their team.
Uh, we'll see how Travis Schlenk works this year. Last year we were thinking similar thoughts in terms of Paul Millsap, but that's a whole other story. And yeah,
Right. And I do think
yeah,
it's a completely different setup now. Last season,
yeah.
there was a lot of involvement from higher up. We won't go into that, but
Ugh.
and there was a lot more of wanting to win, and they legit thought that they had a chance last season with Paul Millsap, and it didn't work out.
And in other news, Kemba Walker is getting traded. Now, what do you see the similarities in between thinking the Hawks could have won last year and they didn't? And never mind. I'll leave that alone. I'll leave it alone.
I
Although,
think that one is a lot more about the Hornets are actually in contention for the next season or two. And I did write a trade for them because if they're going to go for it this season at all, they have got to improve that 3-point shooting. They just got Nicholas Batum back from injury. He's been gone for a while.
Yes.
And you put shooters around a guy like Dwight, take the ball away from him when he's trying to go coast to coast, and you might actually make the playoffs.
Maybe.
Just maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. Whew, boy, that was a fun experience.
That was awesome.
But Sam, we have actually been talking for a while now. I'm just looking at the time, and I realize we have just been foolishly,
oh my gosh,
joking around, talking about this, which makes this fun. And I'm glad you were on here.
I'm glad you had me.
So outside of your article that you wrote, is there anything else you want to plug? And also tell the people how to reach you.
Right. If you guys don't follow me yet, I'm on Twitter at SamTheMan180. You can't miss me. Pretty one-of-a-kind username. And then, you can catch me on Peachtree Hoops. I also write for the Braves over at Talking Chop. So if you guys are interested in either one of the big Atlanta sports teams outside the Falcons, hit me up, and I usually post during games, every game for each team. So, and then the one thing I wanted to plug is I am so happy to see John Collins shooting threes. And he made one in last night's game, and he looked so confident shooting it. I want to see more of that from him because I think John Collins is the Hawks' second chance at Al Horford.
Yes. Except for, I think, yes, I agree. And they must not trade him away for anything. And John Collins, to me, in my opinion, of what I have seen this season, kind of gives more than Horford did his rookie year with the Hawks. But that was a completely different situation.
John's really special, and
Yeah.
I did not expect to see the defensive effort that he's given this season. I mean,
it's not just
completely blew me out of the water.
It's not just effort. It's like he's actually good. Like he's not just passable. It's like, oh, he's actually good on defense for a guy that was like being told he was. What was it? Somebody said that was his Enes Kanter level defense last year.
Yeah, that was his biggest knock coming into the draft, and that is the reason he slid to number 19. And then after the draft, it comes out that Wake Forest coach was just trying to keep him out of foul trouble.
Yeah, told him don't play defense because you are the team. And heck of an offensive player, very athletic guy, great rebounder. Like he does stuff like tapping it to himself. Like you don't see that with some players just because they don't want to put the effort in. And
right,
geez, I'm falling in love all over again. I can't do this. We got to go before you guys start hearing me like crying and wanting to throw rose petals at his feet later on.
I appreciate you for having me on. I had a lot of fun.
Hey, we will have to do this sometime again in the future. Definitely. Thanks for coming on, and everybody, thanks for listening. We're out of here.